where we really shine here is we provide personalized recommendations that align with someone's specific needs. It is not generic. We're using understanding an individual's unique body composition and structure, and that's where we're getting this from. Welcome to the Everyday Epigenetics Raw, Real, Relatable podcast. I'm your host, Susan Robbins, epigenetic human performance coach. This is where we discuss all things lifestyle, environment, food, exercise, work, mind, and social interaction as they pertain to epigenetic expression in a way that's relatable to everyone. So if you're ready to start viewing you as an individual, take control of your life and health, and get results, buckle up, here we go. Welcome to the Everyday Epigenetics Raw, Real, Relatable podcast. I am your host, Susan Robbins, and this is the place where we talk about everything lifestyle and environment and how it relates to our genetic expression. Today, we're going to talk about what you've heard me chatting all the time about for the last it'll be 2 years in April. I can't even believe it. PH360 and the HealthTypes. Now, I've done some podcasts. I did podcast episodes 1 and 2 where we talked about PH360 with Dr. Cam McDonald to kick off my podcast. And I have talked about what I do and referred to PH360. And I've had a podcast on the health types. But what I get asked pretty often is, how do you know what health type I am? How do you determine a health type? And really, what is PH360? What is the science behind it, the technology behind it? And so that's what I'm going to talk about today. I've had requests for that. I asked people to come into my chat group on here. It's on Facebook. It's Everyday Epigenetics, Raw, Real, Relatable Chat. Nobody chats, but every once in a while, I'll get a suggestion or someone reaches out and gives me some info on what they'd like to hear, because I'm doing this podcast for you guys. And I thought the more I keep referring to the health types or PH360 or SHEA, as you'll hear it, or CLIA, the medically supervised AI through PH360, that it might help to clarify some of how this works and why it is the cornerstone of my practice and why I started this podcast, because this is one of the reasons I actually started this podcast, to bring it to the attention of especially Americans. It's based out of Australia and it's little known here in the States. And I've been on a mission to bring it to the States in a big way, because people need to understand that you don't have to be suffering. You don't have to deal with frustration. There is truly personalized precision health out there. And I have it. And we're trying to get more coaches here in the States. The profound transformations in not only myself, but others I worked with for over 5 years using this, I just said, people need to know it's here, that it's real, and that these one-size-fits-all things that many are keeping people stuck or making them worse, that there has to be other alternatives. Frustration is real. People are looking to ChatGPT to guide them. Don't even get me started. We have a whole podcast on that already. and people are constantly playing guessing games with their health. Today, we're going to dive deep into the science and the innovation behind PH360, which is a truly cutting-edge epigenetic platform that actually personalizes health and lifestyle recommendations with true precision. It isn't just about health, it's about unlocking your full potential, and I'm going to go deep as to what it is. You've heard me talk about the health types, but this is how we determine the health type of the individual and the precision recommendations as a result. It is late in the day for this activator. We start coming down I'm usually me at 4:00 and it's almost 4:30. I think you'll find it pretty damn fascinating. And I think you're going to wonder why you hadn't been aware of it before. Or maybe you have a profile, and this is what I've heard from people, you want to understand it even better. Like the why, how do you come up with these things? Because when I onboard somebody, they're like, my God, is somebody, Big Brother watching me or what? That is eerie how much it can tell about you. So I'm going to begin with the foundation of PH360. PH360 stands for Personal Health 360. It's a pioneering and unique platform that offers personalized health and lifestyle recommendations. It's designed to empower individuals by providing insights tailored to their unique biological makeup. And this is, again, how we unlock your full potential. So the PH360 algorithm, this is like a marvel of modern science and technology. We analyze, the PH360 analyzes over 10,000 data points, 500 ratios that are derived from an individual's body measurements, health history. We do a very extensive health questionnaire. And when we talk about the individual measurements, this is very specific measurements: skull, jaw, hands, feet, joints, neck, rib cage. Because people say, oh, I did my measurements at the gym. I'm like, yeah, I haven't done these measurements. Trust me, very specific. And then it also brings in environmental factors. And this data is used to calculate a, quote, personal health code, which serves as the basis for optimizing health and well-being. And the algorithm is dynamic. Again, another thing that makes it unique. It's always adapting as an individual's health status or the environment changes. So it's always changing as you change to ensure that recommendations remain relevant and effective. If I have somebody that's been using the profile for a year and then they say, hey, I want to have a coaching session after we've been long done our program, I said, we have to do remeasure. To like, why? Because if we don't update the measurements and we don't update the questionnaire, I'm saying it's not valid because it's meeting you where you are all the time. And even environmental, if someone moves, my client, he's been on my podcast from North Dakota. Cal spent a few months this winter in the California desert. There are pretty different climates there. His body went haywire in the desert. He immediately contacts me. He's like, God, my blood sugar's up, because we had, for how many months now, like 9-10 months, have had steady blood sugar with him. And he's got some joint issues. Went into the profile and we're like, oh my gosh, you're in a whole different area. We need to adjust and adapt for that different climate. And within just a few days, his blood sugar went from the high 90s, even hit 100, down to the high 70s and low 80s, back to absolutely ideal. So that's how precision we can be. The development of the algorithm is a collaborative effect. It's involving experts from all over the globe. It's backed by evidence-based research. It's been refined through partnerships with institutions like the World Health Organization, UN, numerous universities and health organizations. There's 15 years of development that's gone into it. So the platform is a result of over 15 years of research, development by the international team and its medical doctors, researchers, health practitioners, software developers, and an extensive collaboration. So it ensures that PH is grounded in the latest scientific advancements and practical applications. Again, always up to date. The science behind PH, it's a fascinating blend of disciplines that come together to create a comprehensive understanding of health. And at its core, PH is based on the principles of epigenetics. And how many times do I say this, right? It is how our lifestyle and environment affect our genetic expression. And this means that our health is not solely determined by our DNA. Remember, we are not DNA is not in control. We control the majority of how our DNA expresses by our lifestyle and environment and the interaction with our genetics. So epigenetics, this field, I'm going to go into some of the different sciences here because I think this is really important to see what is in this algorithm, because as I'm bringing someone onto this platform, this is how we're determining the health type, okay? And I'm going to get into that in the next part, how we actually determine the health type. But there is a very extensive health questionnaire that goes into it. We want to know what your current lifestyle is, down to the minute details of what you're doing. So epigenetics, so the different sciences I'm going to bring into this on how this is determined. So I'm not going to do all 15 or we will be here for 3 hours. So I'm going to bring in just a handful of them so you can get an idea of where we're coming from here. Epigenetics, again, we're looking at factors like diet, stress, toxins, how they affect the gene expression without changing the DNA sequence. So your DNA doesn't change, it's the expression. And we can control that. So it's a key component in understanding how personalized health recommendations can be tailored to an individual's unique genetic makeup. Then we have phenomics. This involves a study of phenotypes. Phenotype is how everything's expressing, so observable traits and how they're influenced by both genetic and environmental factors. And when we analyze phenotypic data, PH360 can provide insights into an individual's health status and also potential health risks, which is, again, we want to know not just what's happening, but what are we looking at potentially? Because we can see this, we can watch for this in labs, we know what to test with labs. And then when you add that to DNA, to those propensities, again, it is such a full picture. So, endocrinology. When you have thyroid diabetes, people say, gotta go to the endocrinologist. So, endocrinologist, it's how hormones and their effects on the body. It's study hormones and the effects on the body, and it's crucial in understanding the health types. Each health type has a dominant set of hormones, and this influences the physical traits, the behaviors, and the health predispositions. So I've talked about like my type, the activator, and we'll talk about this a little bit. It's going to be more prone to adrenal issues, more prone to burnout because I'm made for action. And then my beautiful guardians, my bigger people, they are so prone to metabolic issues. And that's what I see all the time. You know what? We turn that shit around. So chronobiology, I've had podcasts on this, so you can look that up too. We can actually put these in I'm going to make notes to put these in the show notes. The chronobiology and the one with Cam where we talk about ChatGPT and Clea. So we'll have all those in the show notes. Chronobiology. This examines how biological rhythms, such as your sleep-wake cycles, affect your health and well-being. How I talk about, you got to do the right things at the right time, right? Even if you're doing the right things at the wrong time, you're throwing off your chronobiology and you're likely not going to be optimal, and there's going to be repercussions your body's going to feel, or your mind. So PH uses chronobiology to optimize the lifestyle recommendations for an individual based on their personal natural rhythms. Then we have, this was a new one to me when I heard about it, so I thought I'm going to throw this in there, geomedicine. This is how geographical and environmental factors impact health. So we talk about environment, but it's actually science, right? So pH considers factors like climate, altitude. I've talked about me living in altitude, not ideal for this activator. And I have to adapt to that. I have to take extra precautions going into altitude. And then when I come out, I have to do extra things for optimal recovery or I'm wrecked. And in altitude, if I don't do the precautions, it can really affect my performance. So we also look at pollution levels to tailor health recommendations to an individual's environment. Then we have anthropometry. This one I love. It involves the measurement of the human body to understand physical variation. And PH360 uses the anthropometric data, can you believe I pronounced that, to determine composition and structure, which are integral to identifying the health types. And then giving the recommendations that are tailored to them. Anthropometry, it's a cornerstone, one of the cornerstones of the PH360 platform, because it provides a tangible, measurable way to understand the intricate relationship between our body's physical form and its internal functions. Here's why we use it. Insight into health risks. This is massive. When someone says to me, like, why would pH remove this food when, like, I've been eating it? Okay, there's a reason you are here where you are, but it may come up as a predisposition to something like gout, and they're eating a diet very high in uric acid. And maybe pH is saying, we want to prevent this potential issue because there is such a high risk here. And so that's how we look at some of these risk factors with measurements. So we look at waist to hip ratio, neck circumference. I talked about body mass index is another one, the BMI, and they're powerful indicators of health risks. They help us to identify predispositions to conditions like cardiovascular disease, diabetes, metabolic syndrome. I have people with all of this stuff happening, and we're trying to turn this around, and we are. And understanding these risks, we can tailor health recommendations that proactively address potential issues We can do this before they manifest. Usually when people are coming to me, it's the stuff is happening or it's on the brink. And luckily, we're able to catch it with the right labs, understanding what these predispositions are. That's why I do super deep dive on a lab and not just the surface testing that most doctors do, because we can really see if these potential risks are happening. And hormonal and genetic insights. So, the size and shape of a specific body part can actually reveal dominant hormone activities and genetic traits. So, for instance, a certain body type may indicate higher levels of specific hormones, which in turn influence metabolism. I burn like crazy. My guardians, not so much. Stress response, behaviors. And by analyzing the anthropometric markers, we can gain insights into an individual's hormonal balance, genetic predispositions. And then, like I said, I will a lot of times, we don't have to. That's the beauty of this. You can do DNA, you don't have to, but we can go more detailed with DNA. And really, that's where putting these together, you see just how powerful the PH360 is. But when we can add a specific DNA SNP to it, it's even more powerful. Where we really shine here is we provide personalized recommendations that align with someone's specific needs. It is not generic. We're using understanding an individual's unique body composition and structure, and that's where we're getting this from. And we can tailor nutrition plans. We don't need to do macros. If you want to do macros, we can do macros, but we can come up with menus, plans. Like it gives you a list of foods, all the foods that are ideal for you based on nutrient density at this time that you need. Exercise regimens, the timing, the types, and lifestyle modifications, when to sleep, when to eat, when to train, when to be social, how best to be social, whether you need to be super organized or you need to just focus. All these things we can dial in. Then there's dynamic health monitoring. As our bodies change over time, so do our health needs. And that's what I was touching on earlier. So anthropometric data, it provides a dynamic way to monitor these changes and adjust health recommendations accordingly. So after somebody's been on with me for about the first month or 6 weeks, we redo the measurements because it will then, the algorithm will pick up on inflammation going down. Maybe the risk for diabetes is going down, cardiovascular. It's going to bring all this into the algorithm. And that ensures that my clients are getting the most relevant and effective guidance through their health journey. I'm not guessing at, we were like this a month ago. What should I do now? It's all precision. And then we link the physical and internal health. So the external appearance of our bodies, it almost always reflects the internal health conditions. I mean, you can see changes in skin. That's one big one. And we'll look at when we measure, say we're measuring and analyzing the physical variations, then we can better infer what the state of the internal systems and processes are. And that's a holistic understanding that allows us to address root causes of health issues rather than just symptoms, that's your general medicine, right? It's all reactive and not proactive. So basically, anthropometry, it's not just about measuring the body, it's about unlocking a deeper understanding of how our physical form interacts with our internal health and enables us to provide truly personalized and effective health solutions. This is the transformative healthcare. Lifestyle medicine, this focuses on creating optimal environments for the body to thrive and by altering lifestyle and environmental factors that influence the genetic expression. And we're talking about things like nutrigenomics, there's food, exposonomics, which study how nutrients and environmental exposures affect our health. Now, this is what everybody wants to know when they talk to me. How do you determine the health type? I'm going to talk about how we actually go about doing this because you're going to think it's super cool. So the health types are determined by assessing your physical structure. And we're talking about the body shape, joint size, muscle distribution. So I'll have people, sometimes I'm on a call with them and I'll go, well, stand up. I need to see your full body. I'm looking at femur length. Do they short femur, long femur? Do they have long arms? Do they have bigger hands with longer fingers, bigger feet? What's the shape of their jaw or their face shape? And is their jaw square? All of these things that I tend to look at. And they're like, how do you do this? So the assessment is rooted in the concept of somatotypes. And this is your endomorph, mesomorph, and ectomorph. And the size and shape of the skeleton, it's a key factor in determining underlying physiology. So when we're formed in the embryo, we all have a predominant derm layer that forms. And this predominant derm layer can predict the likelihood of growth and disease in an individual. And your dominant layers, they're going to receive more fuel and energy during that development. So the organs in that layer have a greater influence on how the body develops. So in the ectoderm, you're going to have more development predominantly around the nerves, the brain, the skin, the neural tissue. Think central nervous system. And then we have the mesoderm. This forms the musculoskeletal, the circulatory, the connective tissues. These are, the muscle, right? And then endoderm, we're looking at lungs, we're looking at digestive, pancreas, liver, prostate, thymus, and thyroid. And I know you guardians are out there nodding. Yep, definitely, definitely. And so when we understand this, it allows us to extend a lot more individualized framework with the 6 different primary health types. The 6 different health types, and you've heard me talk about every one of them on here. We have the diplomat, also referred to as the diplo or the dipper. We have the guardians, my big teddy bears. We have the activators. They are me. We are like nonstop. We are your Energizer bunnies. You have the crusader, the racehorse that they just go. I think endurance athletes. Sensors are your hard gainers, they're your lanky people, very cerebral. And then you have your connector. And your connectors, they're people. And people, think of the puppy, right? And so the health types help to provide insight into your natural tendencies, your strengths, some weaknesses, although they're not weaknesses, we can turn them into a strength too. But things where we're more prone to maybe some issues around there. And then areas for growth. So let's say that. So those things are not weaknesses, they are areas for growth. And while there's distinct characteristics for each one of those, it goes even further into the individual when you have the actual profile for somebody, because you'll have the general characteristics of a health type, but then we all have, like for me, Lyme disease, right? And where I live, all these extra things come into play that need extra attention and drive those characteristics even more. So a health type offers a lens through which you can understand your biological predispositions and how they influence your behavior, preferences, and your interactions with the environment and with other people. And then by identifying your health type, you can really gain some clarity on how to optimize your lifestyle. And we're talking, again, food, exercise, social, stress management, sleep, name it, your climate, right? All these things I've talked about. So if you want to go more in depth, you can go to the episodes 1 and 2 and 65 with Dr. Cam, where we delve into these differences. Again, I'm going to have these listed also in the show notes. But those are little deeper dives into some of the health types that we talk about. And then I'll give you some characteristics. I've done this before, but I'm going to put it, now that you're hearing some of the context to this, I'm going to put the 6 health types with some characteristics here. So we have the sensor. Again, I said like your hard gainers, long, thin bones, longer necks. They're very logical, reason-driven. Vasopressin is the predominant hormone, and that is all around the need for safety and independence. So they're going to sometimes seem a little more aloof when they're really not. They're just very independent and very cautious of their circle. Activator, we are tiny. When I went into the police academy, I had to find shoes that I could shine, and I couldn't fit in any other ones. I was in little boys' dress shoes. I'll never forget that. And those things were so comfortable. So we have small palms and feet, short fingers and toes. My friend used to tease me growing up. She had the long spider fingers. She was total crusader. Long spider fingers, and she'd say, "So you're Sue Stubbs." And shorter femurs. Activators are driven by testosterone, noradrenaline, and we thrive on movement and directness, direct action. Don't beat around the bush. Give it to me. Connectors is my huge secondary. They're shorter, real robust bone structure. Some will have an hourglass shape. A lot of times you'll see an apple shape, sometimes a pear, barrel chested. They're influenced by oxytocin. This is our intimacy hormone. So they're very, very big on connection. If you want to help a connector with stress, go put your hand on their back. They will immediately start to come down. They value connection and fun all the time. If it's not fun, and again, this is my huge secondary, if it ain't fun, I'm not interested. It's not going to keep my attention if it's not fun. Crusader, like I said, the racehorse. One of the things that is a dead giveaway for a crusader is skinny calves. They are dopamine driven, goal oriented. They love structure. They love freaking spreadsheets. I'm like the anti-spreadsheet. It's way too much detail laid out. Too time consuming. But that's what they are all about. And if you listen to, and I've said it before, Dave Goggins, listen to one sentence from him and you'll be like, I get it. They're your endurance athletes because it shuts the brain down. I have a podcast coming up on exercising too much. These guys, endurance athletes, they think it is, especially crusaders, that I'm just going to keep going for it. But really, it can be detrimental in the long run if they don't prepare and recover. And then we have the big teddy bear guardians. These are your bigger people. They've got big calves and big bones. And like Jillian Michaels, when I've heard her on a podcast talking about doing the Biggest Loser. So it was like most of them guardians. And she was talking about these people, no matter what they ate and how much they worked out, they never lost muscle. I'm like, nope. And then she said, they have these massive calves. And I was like, yep, this is the guardian. They are the most resilient, strongest bodies. And they're driven by prolactin, which is a nurturing hormone. So that's why I call them the mama and papa bears, because everybody needs guardians in their life because they take care of us. I was just talking to my friend Kelly, a guardian, and I said, I actually got a little sick last week for the first time, and I don't know how long. And as we were talking, I said, you know when the last time I got sick, Kelly? It was 5 years ago when you brought me soup. It's like, how guardian was that? You gotta love them. And then we have the diplomats. Okay, the diplomats and guardians make up my biggest client arena because the diplomat especially is the most resistant to generic protocols. And when you get them doing the right things at the right time for them, it is a 100% game change. They can vary in size depending. The diplomat's going to be part guardian and part sensor. So there's two. That's really big differences, right? So you can see up towards the guardian, they're going to be bigger. Down towards the towards the sensor, they're going to tend to be smaller, leaner. So you can really see that variance in size there. But they're all about serotonin, which is comfort. They need to plan. They do not do well flying by the seat of their pants. Routine. When you get them in a wonderful routine that is comfortable, that works for them, they thrive. And they love data. So when you hear somebody asking, my Diplos are always reaching out with, I have more questions. And they send me lists and I'm like, yep, I expect it. So you have to give them information. So PH also has an incredible clinical intelligence app, or CLIA. This is what I talk about with CLIA. Revolutionary tool. Tune into that podcast with Cam and I. It's fantastic. CLIA, it's an AI-powered medical intelligence assistant designed specifically for healthcare practitioners. with PH360. It offers real-time patient health insights and personalized treatment recommendations, and it transforms the way we practitioners. I'm not a practitioner. I'm a coach, but I'm in the wellness field. It's how we approach patient care, whether it's patients, clients, it doesn't matter. It is precision and personalization. And I love using it when I'm collaborating with other practitioners. And some of them have their own AI, and mine actually will give even more information. And then when we bring the DNA into it, the practitioners are truly like blown away. And I have one that's actually came back to work with me and Clea on her. So it's truly phenomenal. And it's episode 85. That one's gonna be episode 85. So check that one out. I highly recommend it. You'll see the difference between that and a Chat GPT. And I have people, they argue with me all the time on Facebook. Chat GPT works for me. How do you know? And if you're not trained in this, the AI is going to be as good as the person using it if you understand how to really prompt it. But if you have the knowledge, because you can find things that are off. So you also need to be the expert. And when you combine expertise like the way I do with the pH and I have 10 years of coaching experience. I have 7 years specific to epigenetics. It's funny because Clea's like, you're an expert. I'm going, thanks. And you are too. It's like having all these experts I get to collaborate with. And again, it's truly, it has changed my whole coaching, my whole philosophy and view of health. And I was paleo. I've said it here before, the first 4 years of my coaching. Then I found the DNA testing. And then I found the pH and realized it's not just about DNA. It's about everything put together. It's a holistic approach that considers a wide range of factors. And I tell people when they come on with me, I'm just letting you know, once you experience it, you can't unexperience it. You'll never see anything or anybody the same again. And I have clients trying to figure out their spouse, like what's their health type? How can we work with them or her? And that's why I love what I do. So with pH, understanding the health types, and Clea has access to the profile and the health type. And then I upload DNA and it's, oh my gosh, we have everything. And so it really enhances the ability to provide personalized health solutions. But I stay within my scope of practice as a coach. I am all lifestyle and environment. I am not a practitioner. I don't want to be one. But it allows me to put together this whole connection of dots around someone's system and their genetic propensities and their phenotype, how everything's expressing. And I present these things to physicians that are working with my clients so we can collaborate and make sure they're getting the care that they need, because doctors are not picking up on this stuff and it's sending clients down worse holes. So I'm able to connect dots that no one's been able to do. And even on myself, if you take some of my genetics and add in like the Lyme, the gadolinium, living in the altitude, the stress of owning a business, I connect all those factors and how my body responds and the genetics, all of it, to be able to be as optimal as possible, even in my 6th decade of life. And last week, when I came down with something, I went right into Clea and I said, my God, I'm getting hit with a head cold. What the hell do I do? And the first thing it said is, I don't respond because I put hell in there. It won't let me curse. And you guys know I like to curse. So I have to say, what the heck what do I do? And it gave me like, all right, here's what to do with your foods. And I said, okay, so here's what I'm thinking. And it's nope, you don't want that because of this. You want this because of this. We changed around some of my supplement timing. And the next day I took the day off. I rescheduled 2 podcasts because I just didn't feel clear enough to be able to come on, and my nose was running and I was just a hot mess. And then by day 3, I was back to work. And typically, now again, it's been years, but typically when I would get hit with something, I would get hit hard because I get sick so rarely. And I was like, wow, I'm pinching myself, but that's how I work with this. This is how precise we can be. So if you're big on performance, you don't have to be having health issues to come and see me. This is fantastic working with performance because I'm getting ready to go do a hike at 12,000 feet. I go into Clea, So I could have a client reach out and say, I need to prepare for this. What's the best way for me to eat during this hike, before, during, after? And we hone it in. And I have better performance, better recovery. It's mind-blowing. When should I use my sauna? When should I not? It's just phenomenal. So I'm working with clients, like I said, with chronic disease. I'm seeing reversals in things like insulin resistance, prediabetes in the first few weeks, sometimes in the first 1 or 2 weeks. Cal, right? We had his blood sugar under control within the first 2 weeks. Blood pressure, off blood pressure meds in a month. Weight loss, people who were thinking about trying a GLP-1 but wanted to learn about themselves instead, they're seeing changes on the scale they haven't seen in literally years. Another client, serious rosacea. I asked her, how long has this flare been going? When we met, she was like lobster red on her whole face. And I thought she'd been out in the sun. And she said it was rosacea. And that the flare had been like, I think it was a year, might have been more. Sorry, Chicky, if I th- got that wrong, you can come in our chat and correct it. But we were able to hone up was actually driving that, and her inability to lose weight and her fatigue and her thyroid. And it was, and labs, some bad labs. And she was on a carnivore diet because she was told the carnivore diet, oh, the histamine through the roof, that the carnivore would fix all that. When we looked at her PH360, she was a diplomat. Her timing of training, doing Orange Theory was absolutely too much for her. It was creating more stress, which flares up histamine and flares up autoimmune. And then this carnivore diet that was providing her zero freaking nutrients was actually going against her lipid genetics and making things worse. And we got her off of that. Even found out that where she was, and I went over this with her, so she was okay with me sharing this information, by the way, where she was coaching swimming, the chlorine in the pool, she can't process that toxin. And that was also flaring up the rosacea. So we came up with a supplement to take right before she goes to the pool, only in those days. It was just the fume it wasn't even getting in the pool to help her. That's how amazing PH360 is. And then I had another client addicted to detoxing, thinking she's doing all the right things, to detox after detox to get rid of the shit in her body. That was no pun intended there. Eating vegan, thinking it was healthy for her, and working with Clea and the PH360 and the DNA, brought it all together to help me connect the dots, because I start connecting and then I'm like, what am I missing? Am I missing anything here? And what about these supplements? Go through all the ingredients, like what's affecting the genetics, what's affecting this person and their propensities with their health type. And we found that the detoxes were causing so much inflammation. Her body doesn't have the trash can to dump the toxins, and it was making her worse. And then you add in supplements that were creating more agitation in the body and brain. And the diet going against her genetics, like 100%. The things with lipids I never thought I would see in a vegan. And it was just mind-blowing to me, but how we were able to put that together. And all of this was causing her, instead of losing weight, every time she was losing weight, it was actually muscle. She was in such a catabolic state as opposed to an anabolic state. And so we're fixing that. And I am so grateful she had an open mind. And I love when people come to me with open minds and say, I'm willing to do what is best for me. And she brought the animal proteins back. So we have just gotten started again. I'm really excited to see where she's going to go, but I think we're already seeing some changes. The more open you can be when you do something like this, and I had to be open because, again, I was paleo. Paleo worked for everybody, right? Well, no. We explored the foundation of the pH, the intricacies of the health types, underlying sciences, and the transformative potential of PH360 with Clea. I invite you guys to delve deeper into personalized health approaches. If you're feeling stuck, you're seeking optimization, you have a chronic health issue, you feel like you're not right and nobody is listening, and every protocol, every supplement, everything you're doing is just not working, there is a solution without the guesswork. Reach out. I have complimentary consultations. Let's embark on this transformative journey together. See if we are a fit. The best thing you can do, stay curious, stay empowered. Information is never meant as fear. I've seen some of the worst labs. I just got another setback today, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm so concerned for this person. But yet I have a confidence that we're going to get her dialed in. And I just did a rant the other day on how disgusted I am with the medical community and the lack of care that people are getting other than throwing a medication at them. When I see labs like I have been seeing coming back, and one patient, and like I said, I'm emailing the doctors or giving them letters to take to their doctor with all the medical reasons. Please, I'm begging you to look at this. Here's what I'm finding. Can you please take this in? And you thyroid people will get this. Where the one client's doctor said reverse T3, and she was like 33. The doctor said, I've never heard of reverse T3. WTF. Another one whose iron is so low, and the doctor just said he's not concerned because it's not anemia. The ferritin level in low single digits. And I'm just so disgusted. That's a whole other rant, so I'm going to stop. But please, my point here, take control. You can be your best medical advocate. We have the tools. And hopefully for those of you that already have PH360, use it currently, used it in the past. Maybe you want to come back, but I'm hoping this gives you an even bigger insight into the profile that you have. So all my info is in the show notes. You can connect with me on the Facebook page, the Everyday Epigenetics Raw Real Relatable Chat. You can email me, text me, every way in the show notes to contact me. Feel free. I'm very accessible because I have been where you are if you're not feeling well, or as a high performer, if you just are like, I just want to get better without the guesswork, right? We want to train smarter, not harder. Please share or subscribe to the podcast. Help it keep growing. We've grown in the thousands over these last couple of years, and that's because of you guys, and I'm so very grateful. But hopefully this gives you better insight on what I talk about on this podcast all the time. Or back in the past, now you'd be like, aha, the light bulb is on. So thank you so much for listening. I do this for you. Give me suggestions. I'd love to hear topics you'd like or who you'd like to get me to get on this show. So get out there, make it a great day, and be your most authentic self. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for tuning into my podcast. If you enjoyed this week's episode, I'd love for you to share it with someone who'd find the information useful. Please leave a review anywhere you listen to podcasts, and it'll help the information get out to others. If you're interested in seeing if we're a great fit to work together, the link is in the show notes below where you can sign up for a free consultation with me. So go make it a great day and let your authentic self shine.